Hi guys, this is Debbie from Debbie J's Crafting Corner. I'd like to welcome you to the first hop in the new Card Hoppin' video hop series being put together by the Handmade Happiness Facebook group. I've left a link in the description box below in case you'd like to join us over on Facebook for some more card making inspiration and fun. The idea behind this hop series is to give you a year of fun themes and techniques, so be sure to check back each month for lots of fun inspiration. This month we are focusing on ink smushing and ink blending, and I decided to do a card using the ink smushing technique. You've probably seen me do this before on a previous video. This time I'm going to be using my distress inks. So to start off with, I've got my glass mat here, and this section of the mat is really useful for this kind of technique because since it has the white backing, you can see exactly what color that you're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out a few of these colors and just smush some of that down. Get some ink down on the mat. Let's see, so I've got picked raspberry and abandoned coral, and I think I'm going to do some spiced marmalade. Another thing that you're going to want to use is some watercolor cardstock. Watercolor cardstock is really the best bet to go with whenever you're wanting to do any kind of a water technique. And then I've just got a spray bottle full of water here. I'm just going to spray some of that down onto my mat and mix together some of the colors a little bit. So that looks pretty nice. I'm going to put down some more of the ink. So although I'm not planning on covering this entire panel and I'm planning on letting some of the white kind of show through, I do want to get more color than just that on my panel. Mix all of that together. And that looks kind of interesting. It is starting to fade back a little, so I'm going to let this dry. And I'm going to help it along with my heat tool. And this is kind of a nice, pretty soft background. But I do want some more color on there, and I think I want more of the orange. Actually, I'm going to go with some more of the abandoned coral. And you never get the same exact look every time, so that's one reason why it's fun to play with this. And I think I want some of that kind of in the center. I mean, there's only so much control you can do with this. I'm going to go ahead and start drying some of that again. Okay, I think that looks really pretty. I really like the way that panel's turning out, so I'm going to go ahead and just go with this. And I'm going to go ahead and just stamp a sentiment on the front. This is going to be pretty much a simple card, so I'm going to center that pretty much. I am going to trim this down, but I think I'm going to just trim it down on the edges. I really like all that color in the center. And I've got so much color here, I don't really want, because it's light and pastel colors, I don't want to do this in white because it'll get lost. And I don't want to do it in black because, again, we've got all those colors. So I think I'm going to use some Catherine Pooler ink. And I was thinking about using that red, but the Rockin' Red really is not going to stand out as much on that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use the Cranberry Fizz again. This is getting to be my favorite red ink. I'm going to do a double stamp because that did do pretty good coverage, but I can still see through parts of it. And once I get enough of that color down, I'm going to heat emboss some clear embossing over the top of it. It's going to basically make it look like I've done it in red heat embossing. Okay, that looks pretty nice. I'm going to do one more tapping of that. Oh, that looks really good. And I am going to use my Wow embossing powder. Now, this panel, I think, I probably should have planned this a little bit better before doing the inking, but I'm pretty sure that this is really dry. And I'm going to go ahead and just use some clear embossing powder by Wow. Now, one reason why I like this one is that it doesn't always require you to put down some anti-static powder because it's in a little container that keeps it mostly static free. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's sticking too much anywhere that I don't want it. And it's clear, so it's not going to be really noticeable, even if it does have a little extra. Let me go ahead and heat that up with my Marvy heat tool. While that's still hot, I'm going to put a little more embossing powder over it. This usually works for you to be able to get a second layer of embossing. And it looks like I'm getting decent coverage over most of it. And this time I'm going to heat it from behind to try to help even out some of the warping too. And I really love the way that it looks going from basically matte to that bold, shiny finish. Okay. And since I know I didn't get complete coverage on it this last time, I'm going to try one more time to get some more of that embossing there. Okay, that covered a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just trim this down. This panel measures 7.5 by 5.5, so I do need to trim that down quite a bit in order to get it to fit on my A2 size card base. So I'm going to start off by trimming off about an inch. I'm going to go with an inch on each side to start off with. Actually on the long ends. And those strips look nice too. Okay, so now this one should measure right at 5.5 inches square. So I do need to trim off about a 1/4 inch off of each of these, the top and the bottom, the long ends. Let's go ahead and trim it down to about 5.5 on that end, and then trim it down to 5 here. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to give about a 1/4 inch border around, so the ending measurement needs to be 5 by 3 3/4. And that should get me down to 3 3/4. And that, I think, is a very pretty little card panel for the front of the card. So next, I just need to put together my card base. So as usual, I'm going to be using some Recollections heavyweight cardstock for this. This is the 300 GSM in white. And I'm going to just put it in my scoring tool and score that at 4 1/4. And then I flip it over and then fold it. The reason being, I want the scored part to be on the outside to give me less of a chance that it's going to crack. And my cardstock is always just slightly larger than 8.5. So I've got this little bit here that I need to go ahead and just trim off. So I'm just lining up that piece with the edge where the blade's supposed to be, and you see it is right at 4 1/4, and just trim that off. Now to adhere this down, I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive foam. The reason that I'm wanting to use the foam tape is partially I want a little bit of dimension, but another part is that this is still a bit warped. You can see that, and I want this to stay very nice and tight down on my card. So I'm going to go ahead and just cover the entire back with this foam tape. And I'm just burnishing the foam tape down so it stays very well so I can get the plastic release paper off. Okay, and I always have a bit of trouble getting that lined up perfectly when I leave that nice bit of white space around it. So I'm going to add some art glitter glue to this adhesive. Now this not only gives it a little extra adhesive power, it also gives you a little bit of wiggle room, because since this is a liquid adhesive, it stays wet a little longer, and you're able to move the paper around just a touch if you need to before it grabs hold. So I am working on getting that right at about a 1/4 inch all the way around. That looks pretty close. And I'll go ahead and press that down. And that is a basic card, but of course I need to add a little bit of embellishment to that. So let's see what I've got. I've got these. I think I'm going to go with these little heart sequins that I've got from. I picked these up at Target quite a while back. I believe it was part of last year's shopping. And grab my jewel picker. I'm just going to add a few of these little hearts around on the card. And I almost always use the larger end because it seems to pick up better than the smaller end on this thing. I don't know why, but it does for me. So that finishes up this project for today. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing this technique in action and are inspired to do some creating today. And I'd love to see what you create. So come join my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, and the Handmade Happiness Facebook group, and show us your creations. I've left a link down to each of those in the description below. Be sure to check out all of the other crafters in the hop, because I know they will have a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. Here are some other videos that you may be interested in. Thank you so much for dropping by, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.